Before we start, I must read this note. Timeout being by the host, got it. Please note that tonight's meeting is recorded and broadcast on Channel 18 and in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 20. I must inquire whether anyone is taping this meeting and to please make their presence known. Nobody's doing that, so we can proceed with the agenda for tonight. The first item on the agenda is to act on the minutes of January 24th, 2023. The minutes were mailed to you by Pam, and I want to ask if anybody has any corrections or additions or omissions to the minutes. Hearing none, I will ask for a motion to approve the minutes of 2024, January 24th, 2023.
So moved.
Motion's been made. I need a second.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion, any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those
Aye.
opposed? The ayes have it. That's unanimous. Okay. The next series of minutes is the February 28th, 2023 Waterways Committee minutes. All were present, so everybody's eligible to vote on these. Looking for a
Mr. Chairman, I
motion.
make a motion, we accept the minutes of the 28th February 2023 Waterways Committee meeting.
The motion's been made
Second the motion.
and seconded. Is there any discussion on this motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Unanimous. Thank you, gentlemen. On to the next order of business. Notice of intent. Laurie Sidman, trustee, 185 Ocean View Avenue, Katuitt, map 033, parcel 016. The applicant proposes to repair, maintain, and relocate pier head and boat lifts due to shoreline accretion. Pier lifts will be adjusted 25 feet seaward. The pier will extend 60 feet from mean high water. Continued from February 28th. No update from the engineer to date.
Yes, Mr. Cross, we did hear from the engineer today. They still need a little bit more time to present this NOI back to the Waterways Committee. So he's going to be on the agenda for next month.
Okay, so that item is continued. Moving right along. JMS Holdings LLC, 134 South Bay Road, Osterville, Mass. Map 93, parcel 64. The applicant proposes to replace the existing pier, which is partly permanent and partly seasonal, with a permanent pile supported pier in the existing footprint. There will be no change to the existing 8 by 25 foot float and no change in the 3 by 14 foot ramp. Is there anybody here to speak to this, Jay?
I believe Mrs. Wilson is here.
Arlene Wilson, AM Wilson Associates, representing JMS Holdings. For the Waterways Committee, I think this is a fairly straightforward proposal. The seasonal end of this structure, together with its ramp and float, generally don't come out of the water until late October and go in as early in the season as the owner can get away with it. We believe there really isn't going to be any significant impact on navigation as a result of the project, and I'd be happy to answer questions.
Anything from the committee members?
Well, it seems pretty straightforward to me. The permanent,
It's staying within the existing footprint, right,
Within the
Mrs.
footprint.
Wilson?
was that,
Harbor Master has no objections.
so that it does stay within the existing footprint, no changes in that aspect of it?
Correct.
Okay, I can't hear your head shake, Mrs. Wilson.
I'm sorry. That's correct. No changes in the footprint at all.
Okay, thank you. All right, members, what do you want to do?
This is Greg. I don't see any problems with this item.
Okay,
Gary, I don't see any issue as long as it's within the same footprint.
I don't either, so I guess that's a unanimous approval of this to go forward. Thank you, Mrs. Wilson.
Thank you.
Okay,
Hey Jay, this is Todd Willantis. Are we having a problem with Zoom tonight, or is it on my end?
I'm hearing everything okay, Todd.
I can't get into the meeting. It says the host will let me in, and I've been trying for 14 minutes, so I'm on this voice call.
Well, we can hear you fine.
Okay.
did you,
Nope, somebody just let me in.
there you go.
Camera, I might have missed you, Todd. I apologize.
Okay, no worries.
All right, welcome aboard, Todd.
Thank you,
Okay,
gentlemen.
next order of business is mooring appeals. Dennis Malumian, 978 Main Street, Katuitt, denied a new mooring permit application in a closed mooring field.
Yes, Mr. Cross, these two individuals have applied for mooring permits in close proximity to the Katuitt Town Dock.
Okay, time out, Jay. Should I read Mr. Lapointe's name into the record as well?
Yeah, we're gonna view these two appeals together.
Okay, so it's William Lapointe, 980 Main Street, Katuitt, Mass. Denied a new mooring permit application in a closed mooring field. So we're taking those two as one.
Yes, sir.
Okay, onward.
Okay, as I was saying, these two individuals applied for mooring permits in close proximity to the Katuitt Town Dock. As the committee and these individuals know, there's an established wait list for this area. The Katuitt Town Dock has had an established wait list for over 30 years. During this time, no waterfront property owner has ever been granted a mooring unless he or she has been on the wait list. There are currently 2,500 moorings in the town of Barnstable and 1,500 people on the wait list who are all following the rules. It's my job as mooring officer to maintain the integrity of this office, and therefore I denied the permits.
Okay. Is there anybody to speak to this issue?
Yes, good evening. And thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Dennis Malumian, and joining me is Bill Lapointe. We own the adjacent waterfront properties at 978 and 980 Main Street in Katuitt. Allow me to please start by saying that this appeal is not about our effort to circumvent what we consider to be an equitable mooring permit waiting list policy or the harbor master's authority. On the contrary, this is about following the rules established by the town of Barnstable and the great extent to which we have gone to demonstrate that we comply with all the requirements and criteria contained in the published policy for issuing independent mooring permits. By way of background, Bill and I, together with Bill Sullivan, our immediate neighbor to the south, after reading the town's policy, thought we might qualify for independent moorings. And rather than being presumptuous and making such a claim idly, we engaged environmental planners, legal counsel, marine engineers, and surveyors to study, design, and through the use of bathymetric survey, identify 3 proposed mooring locations in the open waters in front of our properties on Katuitt Bay. To further validate our proposition, we made application of these proposed mooring locations to the U.S. Corps of Army Engineers in July of 2020. In conjunction with this application, notifications and forms that were required in conjunction with the application were filed with the Massachusetts Historical Commission, Massachusetts Board of Underwater Archaeological Resources, and the Aquinnah and Wampanoag Tribal Councils. Additionally, a Massachusetts Coastal Zone Policy Plan Consistency Statement was filed with the Massachusetts Office of Coastal Zone Management. After receiving either corroboration or no objection from all of these agencies or organizations, the Army Corps determined in May 2021 that the proposed mooring locations are viable and authorized under General Permit number 2 of the April 16, 2018 federal permit known as the Massachusetts General Permit. Notwithstanding the Army Corps' determination that the proposed mooring locations were federally authorized, we acknowledge and respect that such authorization does not obviate the need for approval of the Barnstable Harbor Master or this committee. As such, we made application to the Harbor Master for 3 independent moorings in the locations authorized by the Army Corps. The applications were denied because, as stated in the denial letter, and I quote, "The mooring field for which you applied is full at this time." We do not take exception to the assertion that the mooring field in Katuitt Bay is full. Our application was for independent moorings in an area of historically open water with no moorings outside the general mooring area. The denial of our application was a verdict seemingly reached without regard to the evidence presented in our application, hence our appeal and appearance tonight before this esteemed committee. Bill.
Thanks, Dennis. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bill LaPointe, and I've lived in the town of Barnstable and boated on our waters for 26 years, spending the last 16 years on our current property. As Dennis mentioned, we respect the way the waitlist for moorings has been conducted, but believe that our private moorings are not related to the Katuitt Harbor designated mooring field. I'd like to read a brief passage from the town website. The stated goal of the town's published non-designated mooring area policy is to guide the Harbor Master's office in issuing individual permits outside the general mooring areas. Factors that shall be taken into account when considering issuing mooring permits include: A, waterfront property ownership; B, impact on designated shellfish areas; C, interference with public navigation; D, impact to public recreation; E, restriction of the historic use of the area, type, and location of waterfront access; F, a need for moorings; and G, compatibility with town codes. We believe, as confirmed by the Army Corps and the Massachusetts Office of Coastal Management, among other agencies and organizations, that we satisfy all of the factors listed in the town's policy, leaving only the issue of whether our proposed moorings are located outside of the general mooring area. It's our position that these mooring locations are in fact located outside of the general mooring area because there have never been any moorings placed in these spots. That's certainly the case for the past 16 years as I've lived immediately above the area. We request that the committee, just as did the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and the Massachusetts Office of Coastal Zone Management, give consideration to the following factors. We, the applicants, are all waterfront property owners. The agency review confirmed no adverse impact to the designated shellfish area. The proposed moorings are located in an area which does not impede public navigation, nor will the proposed moorings interfere with any existing moorings or moored vessels. The proposed moorings will not hinder public recreation. The proposed moorings will not restrict the historic use for waterfront access. And finally, we, the applicants, have a need, since we are all boat owners, are not allowed docks or piers, and there are no available moorings in the general mooring area. The Harbor Master's office has stated that the designated mooring field is full, but the Army Corps of Engineers, after reviewing our bathymetric survey and engineering data, confirmed the validity of our proposed moorings. Since historically there have never been any moorings located in the vicinity of our proposed moorings, and since the Harbor Master has declared that the mooring field is full, We believe the only logical conclusion must be that the proposed locations are outside of the designated mooring field. I think it's also important to note that granting of our proposed moorings will not impact the mooring field wait list, since there are no moorings on these locations. In summary, we believe that we should be treated as anyone else seeking a private mooring in a non-designated mooring area.
We maintain that we meet or satisfy all the requirements and criteria published in the.
Okay, thank you for your input. Harbor Master or Mooring Officer, your shot.
Sure. As you guys know, I've been aggressively tackling the mooring fields in the town of Barnstable. I can't speak to my predecessors. I can tell you that Brian Taylor has enabled me to actively pursue getting people off the wait list, and I've taken that responsibility very seriously. If we're looking at the map of the Katuah Town Dock right now, one of the issues I had is that I went through the entire wait list. As of last year, we only had 13 people on it. So I held a lottery this past year. We've added 160 names to the Katuah Town Dock wait list, and I'm taking advantage of every area that I can. The stars on this map represent future locations, areas that we have holes. These are locations that I will be permitting people in 2023 in. And what the homeowners don't realize is that since they've gotten their applications from the Army Corps of Engineers, I've permitted several people in this general area. So I personally went out there in our boat. I took some sounding readings here. One of the applicants put in an application for a 35-foot vessel that apparently he wants to put in a half a foot of water. So I don't understand how that works, but as you can see in 2022, these yellow dots represent 2022. This is a new mooring here in front of 978. We just did another one in front of 980. So there literally isn't space in front of the homeowner's house. Not to mention the blue line represents the mooring field in the Katuah Town Dock. And this is an established waitlist area, as I said before.
If I may, I think this graphic kind of makes our argument. The area in front of our home is empty and has been empty of moorings historically for as long as anyone can remember. If you have a waiting list that's literally decades long and obvious tremendous need for moorings, and you don't put moorings in that area, then you can't come to any other conclusion other than to say that area in front of our houses is the area outside the general mooring area. And if that's the case, then we should be treated like anyone else seeking an independent mooring because we qualify for every one of the criteria. The issue of whether or not those moorings are appropriate was reviewed and confirmed by the Army Corps of Engineers based upon the bathymetric surveys that we submitted. I think that's a pretty respectable and credible authority. We're not saying that they have authorization to grant us the right to put the mooring in the field, but we do believe that they're credible enough to confirm whether or not the engineering that we submitted was valid and whether that area would support a viable mooring location. So we're not challenging Harbor Master Horn's efforts to be equitable and to service the community and to fill this mooring field. We're just saying that we believe the line is not that blue line that's literally in our front lawns. That's an arbitrary drawn line. We believe the line is in fact on the outside of that existing row of moorings. And therefore, why wouldn't we be treated like any other independent mooring applicant? That's our position.
I'd like to add one thing. So I commend the harbor master for trying to identify additional spots given the wait list. I do find it interesting that a spot three spots that have been open for 26 years, all of a sudden are identified after we've gone to some substantial effort and expense to identify them, and would ask whether he believes it's the honorable thing to do to expand the mooring field based on our findings versus acknowledge the mooring field that's existed for 26 years and grant us our independent moorings.
Questions, committee members? Comments?
When was the blue line along the shoreline established as part of the town's mooring field?
I don't know when this area was first established, sir. I'm sorry, Brian, are you aware of that information?
It went through the historic, the Katuitt Historic Society. I'm not sure exactly when it was established. I don't know the year exactly off the top of my head.
Could I ask by whom that line was established as well as when?
Harbor Master, the original Harbor Master Dan Horn. In conjunction with the Katuitt Historic Society, it was presented to the Waterways Committee. I just don't know the exact year.
I had just a quick question. So maybe I'm a little bit confused. So Mr. Malumian and Mr. Lapointe had said, and maybe I misunderstood, that they're interested, or the request was for a mooring outside the designated mooring field. So my presumption was that it would be outside the blue line, or to the right as we're looking at this picture, or to the east. But then we were talking about these moorings that are in close to shore. So what location are we actually talking about?
So there's 3 individuals, only 2 of them have applied so far. We're talking about parcel number 978 and 980 right now, which again land within a designated mooring field. Our mooring fields go to mean low high water.
Okay, right. I wasn't talking about the parcels. I was talking about the locations of the moorings. So
In front of the parcels.
Okay.
Basically where the first yellow dot is, and I believe it says Henry O'Shaughnessy Jr. in that vicinity there.
Okay, we're not talking outside the blue line then. Okay.
No,
No.
All right, thank you.
that would be a true non-designated permit. This is an area that's closed wait list.
And our contention is that it's illogical for the harbor master to claim that the mooring field is full when these locations have apparently existed for so long. And therefore, the true designated mooring field is not reflected by these blue lines, but by something else determined by their practice over 30 plus years.
So you're asking to redraw the mooring line, the mooring field line.
No, I'm not.
Well, how else can you do it?
We're saying that it has been drawn as a matter of practice.
Can't hear you.
I'm sorry, can you hear me? We're saying that the line has been drawn as a matter of practice to be the existing line of moorings that have been in place for all these years. And that open area of water in front of our properties would be de facto outside the general mooring area because you've never used it. If you haven't used it for all these years, you must consider it outside the mooring area.
Well, it seems to me that it's from the blue line to the low tide mark along the shore. So that was the definition in terms of one would assume that it's all the mooring field, with the definition being the blue line. Is that an accurate summary?
That's correct, Mr. Regan.
But that is our contention, that blue line is invalid.
So wait a minute. You're arguing two points now, that the blue line is invalid and that you should get moorings. What you really want to argue is that the blue line needs to be moved out and then there'd be some sort of declaration of a free-for-all in that area.
We're saying the blue line is rather arbitrary. I mean, it's a hand-drawn line that,
Now, wait a minute, the blue line, it's true, it is a hand-drawn line, but the definition of it, it goes to mean low water at the shoreline. Is that not correct, Jay?
That is correct. The mooring field extends to mean low high water. Everything within this blue line is within a closed mooring wait list.
So really, the blue line may be in the wrong spot, but it needs to be moved to the shore as opposed to much further out. If it's mean low water does not occur 50 or 75 feet or 100 feet off the shore. Mean low water is at the shoreline.
we accept that. What we're saying is, if you in fact have not used the area in front of our homes for all of these decades to put moorings in, when you have such an incredible need and demand for moorings, then you must have considered the area in front of our homes to be outside the general mooring area.
No, I
What
think
other conclusion can you come to?
I can come to the conclusion that the mooring officers have looked at that very closely, as they have many other areas, and said there's not enough room in there for boats bigger than I don't know, maybe a 12-foot rowboat. There's not enough water in there to put a mooring in safely and have area for the boat to swing on a mooring in a storm, especially a southeast storm, which blows right into Katuitt Harbor. I think that your assertion is presumptuous.
Well, we respect what you just said, and we certainly respect the harbor master coming to that conclusion. That's why we didn't just march in and say, give us mooring permits. And we went to the trouble, spent nearly 3 years spending money on engineers and planners to find 3 locations that did make sense, that were viable, and have them confirmed and validated by the Army Corps of Engineers to be valid, to be viable. And we presented all that data in our application and in our appeal. And there are 3 locations there that will work. The fact that you haven't used them is, unfortunate perhaps, but we maintain that if you haven't used this area all this time, then that blue line, regardless of where you've hand drawn it, is really, in fact, that line of moorings east of the shore, and everything to the west of it is outside the general mooring area. And if that's the case, then we qualify for every criteria in your published policy for an independent mooring. And we ask that you give that consideration.
Okay. Commission members, any other comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman, I certainly empathize with the applicants or appellates that owning a property on the water and being able to have a mooring and having some sort of precedent of not having a mooring within inside the mooring line for so many years leads to question. But our current administration in the harbor master's office is working exceptionally diligently to fill those mooring fields and opening up new positions. And they have to be applauded for that. But I certainly do understand the questions that are coming from this. And, maybe it's a question that we could at least get back to them on when this line was established and who it was established. So they have a little resolve to say that, it wasn't just a capricious line that was drawn on a map, but maybe we share that feedback with them and let them kind of reorganize and reevaluate their position on this.
I want to add one more thing, Mr. Cross. I called Dan Horn, who was the harbor master in the town of Barnstable for 34 years. And I asked him about this particular situation. And over 25 years ago, they stopped issuing permits within a designated mooring field to homeowners for one reason. Those homeowners would apply for a permit behind their house. They would get the permit. They would then sell their house and they would keep the permit. And then the next homeowner would come in and apply for a permit behind his house, and there wouldn't be room for the mooring. And because we have the Katuah Town Dock and we have the launch, this is the situation that the harbor master found themselves in. And sometimes over the course of a decade, 2 or 3 mooring permits would end up in a homeowner's backyard. So that's why they put a stop to this. Not only that, but again, because of the closed wait list.
But with all due respect, I believe there's a difference with the moorings that would been granted by the Army Corps of Engineers. I believe they are tied to the properties, not to us as individuals.
Well, I think that the Army Corps of Engineers is a whole different question, because I'm not sure what the state statutes are or what, but I think that the town of Barnstable is the issuing agent for moorings in the town of Barnstable waters, not the Corps of Engineers.
You're right. And we're not-
That's correct. The Army Corps has no jurisdiction in our waters.
You're absolutely right. We just offer the Army Corps' review and approval as a.
Can't hear you.
The engineer. I'm saying that you're absolutely right. We're not suggesting for 1 minute that the Army Corps' federal permit that they gave us, or federal authorization, has any validity in other than the Army Corps of Engineers is a very credible engineering review authority, and they reviewed our engineering data and confirmed that the locations are viable. That's what we're saying. We're saying we didn't just say we could stick these moorings in there because we put out there with a yardstick. We did bathymetric surveys, we submitted to the Army Corps of Engineers and the Massachusetts Coastal Commission, and they approved it. So we're only offering that up as a confirmation of the engineering, nothing else.
Okay, thank you.
We respect Harbor Master Horn and Harbor Master Taylor's authority, and we are just simply saying that we believe we are in an area of outside the general mooring area for all the reasons that we said earlier, and that is the only criteria in the township's published policy that is of any contention in regard to this case. And so we're asking you if you would give consideration to the fact that if this area of open water has been historically void of moorings all these years, then isn't it in fact outside the general mooring area? And if it is, then please treat us like any other independent applicant.
What you're asking us to do is to redraw the mooring lines, the mooring field lines.
I'm asking you to consider that you've already redrawn it by virtue of your practice over all these decades.
Well, it hasn't been redrawn. It's clearly delineated. It may,
Well, that's a handwritten, that's a hand-drawn line. I'm saying you've drawn
but
it.
it's
as a matter of
delineated.
fact.
It's delineated by the language also to mean low water, I believe. Is it not, Jay?
Correct.
And it's delineated by where we set the line. So the line is set where we set it. And the mooring area that you're proposing to place a mooring in is in an established waitlist area. Therefore, we have to permit a mooring from the waitlist. Plain and
Okay.
simple.
May I make one last point before I waste any more of your time? Section 406-24 of the code of the town of Barnstable empowers the harbor master, after the consultation with your committee, with the discretion to deviate from the regulations in approving an application for independent moorings. So even if you were to say that we're wrong in our assertion that we're outside the general mooring area, you still have the discretion to approve our permits, because we do have a very unique case here. We're not setting precedent to open up a floodgate for others to do the same thing. We've raised the bar pretty high in terms of finding locations that haven't been used, finding locations that are valid, getting an Army Corps of Engineer authorization, federal authorization, all the other agencies and organizations that reviewed this application. And we're asking you to give some consideration to using your discretion to grant us independent moorings in these 3 locations for all the reasons that we've stated tonight.
Well, it sounds like, and I appreciate that. I appreciate your reading chapter and verse. It sounds like that you have asked the harbor master at his, or the mooring officer at his discretion to do something, excuse me, and they have denied your request. Is that correct, Jay and Ryan?
100%.
Yes.
So they've denied your request. I don't know, maybe the other members of this board have other comments or questions, but that's what I've heard.
This is Greg. I agree with Todd's previous comments. And I have appreciation for the applicants here, and I get the spirit of what they're trying to do. But simultaneously, and perhaps more importantly, I respect the mission of the harbor master and his staff in really trying to make these mooring fields more efficient. It's been a 2 or 3 year process. They've been working hard. And my final comment is I think the blue line is just, it doesn't have anything to do with this discussion really. So thank you.
Yeah, this is Gary. I have to agree with the harbor master's point of view, as well as the due diligence done prior to with Dan Horn when he was in charge for decades. So I'm falling in favor with the harbor master and the mooring officer.
Greg, you want to weigh in or not?
think you meant
Todd, I'm sorry, Todd.
No, I think if the delineation was made a long time ago, I definitely think the harbor masters are making their best effort to open up these mooring fields, and it would be I hate to say no, because I'm all about getting people on the water and adding more moorings where it is possible, especially homeowners, because I understand if I was in their position, I would feel the same way and I'd want a mooring out front. But if the mooring field has been delineated as outlined in this illustration, and I have no reason to believe it hasn't been that, like I said, maybe the dates would add a little clarity to the applicants, but I think we've got to stay the course where we're at.
So if I can add one final comment, the duty of this commission and the harbor master's office is to get as many people on the water as possible. We're all boaters and I have been all my life, and all of you mostly have as well. But there are some things that just are difficult to take, and this is one of them, because we do have waiting lists all over town, and we have people that have been on those lists for a significant period of time. But at the same time, sometimes things do happen to open this up. So I hope you're on the waiting list, gentlemen.
Well, may we at least ask you to consider this?
I think we're considering it right now, quite frankly. What would you want us to consider between now and a future meeting?
Consider the equity of what we're asking, and that is, we've got 3 waterfront property owners staring out at open waters where there are no moorings. We have confirmed, and I don't think you can challenge the Army Corps' determination that we have found 3 legitimate, valid, viable mooring locations in front of our property in an area that has not been used for moorings. And the only issue at hand is whether or not that blue line that's hand-drawn runs right through our front lawns is, in fact, as a matter of practicality over the decades of practice, really the line of moorings that exists east of our bulkheads. And if that's the case, then the mooring locations that we have proposed qualify for independent moorings. That's what we're asking you to consider.
You still seem to be missing the the idea that the mooring field is delineated by mean low water to the shoreline. The blue line is, somebody drew it onto the Sharpie or whatever it is somewhat arbitrary. We grant you that. But it is by definition, mean low water at the shoreline.
I think we understand the definition. The practice has not matched that definition by virtue of all of these open locations. We appreciate the fact that the harbor master is looking to fill those. You know, we are on the wait list to get a mooring. That may take many years. So we hope to see these locations filled up and are happy to have done some service to the town by identifying them for you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, what's your pleasure?
You want to take a vote on it, Peter?
I think we probably should.
Okay.
It's a significant issue, so a vote, we would need a motion to approve or a motion to deny. The silence is deafening.
Well, what are we, I'm not sure of the vote. It would be to sustain the harbor master's position, or
Correct.
Or are we voting on the approval of, is it a request for? Help me understand precisely what we're trying to.
The mooring officer
It's a-
has denied 2 mooring permit applications. And so what we would do would be to affirm those denials. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
This is Gary. I affirm the denial.
Okay. Second,
Well, if that's a motion, I'll second the motion.
okay, so motion's been made and seconded to affirm the denials by the mooring officer and the harbor master. Is there any further discussion by committee members? Okay, we'll take a roll call vote. Todd,
In favor
in favor of
Denial.
denial, okay.
of affirming the harbor master's
Right.
decision to deny
Okay.
the mooring permit.
Greg,
I support the harbor master's decision.
okay, and Ben,
Did you read, Brad?
Brad,
Reading now. Okay.
Brad? Hello, Brad. Is Brad muted? Well, I would vote to affirm the harbor master's decision as well, so that gives us a majority of the board. Brad, can you hear us? I guess not. So the motion to deny the application is carried.
Well, we thank you anyway.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next order of business is old business mooring regulations.
Yeah, same thing as last month, guys. We're just keeping this on the agenda for now to keep it warm. We are gonna, request that we do a workshop here in the future. As soon as I get out of mooring renewal season, maybe we'll shoot for April or May. At that time, Brian's gonna present some changes to the marina fees, and there's a couple changes to the mooring regulations I'd like to implement. So maybe next month we'll pick a date for a workshop that works for the committee.
Okay. Marina fees.
Yeah, same thing, like Jay just said, keeping it on the agenda to keep it public information. We are going to be discussing a proposed change to the marina fees in upcoming months. Potentially we'll be holding a workshop as well. inviting the public to come, especially slip holders. So just keeping it on the agenda for now. You will see new proposed marina fees here in the future.
Okay, thank you. New business, mooring waitlist, lottery drawing for 5 closed mooring waitlists to be held April 7th at 8 a.m. April 23rd, to be held April 7th at 8 a.m., April 23rd at midnight. This online lottery drawing will be held online via, however you pronounce that. 5 closed mooring waitlists, Katuitt Bay Shores 25, East Bay 25, Fish Hills 25, 15, Tim's Cove 25, and West Bay 25.
Yes, Mr. Cross. So once again, I'm holding another lottery. It's for our currently closed waitlist areas. The dates are April 7th. The lottery opens up April 7th at 8 a.m. It closes April 23rd at midnight.
Okay,
Can go to the Town of Barnstable website. Right on the homepage, there's a banner that says Mooring Waitlist Lottery. You click on that banner, it'll take you right to the website where you can purchase tickets. The important thing to know about this lottery is that you may only enter your name once per mooring field. So any individual can enter their name for Katuitt Bay Shores, East Bay, Fish Hills, all of the mooring fields that they choose, but they can only enter their name once. Those are the rules of the lottery. The drawing will be held April 25th at 11 a.m. And the winners are listed here. We're going to pick 25 for each mooring field, with the exception of Fish Hills, which we're going to pick 15 for.
okay. Comments, questions? Correspondence, I have none. Anybody got any? Harbor Master report.
Yes, sir. So the lottery is the big news in the Harbor Master land. Again, go to the town website. It's right on the homepage. It'll take you right to the website. It's very easy to navigate. You can use your credit card to purchase tickets. You can enter anybody in your family, husband, wife, father, daughter, children, doesn't matter. Anyone can join the lottery. It doesn't matter what age they are. In other news, we're wrapping up mooring renewal season. We have a couple days left. The deadline is March 31st. There's currently a $50 late fee. As of right now, we're looking very good. We only have about 100 people who haven't renewed their moorings, which is right in line with what we've seen historically. So again, all you stragglers out there, you got a couple more days to get your applications in. March 31st, 4:15 p.m. That's all I got for you, gentlemen.
Okay. Thank you. Matters not reasonably anticipated by the chair, I have none. We need a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So moved.
Made and seconded. Any
Second.
discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.